We just completed the March monthly service led by the Bishop and Mrs. Fukaya. Thank you very much for your joining the prayer for the joyous life for all people in the world. As I have been assigned to deliver a sermon this month, I'd like to fulfill my duty. I ask for your kind attention. Today, I'd like to talk about how to convey this wonderful teaching. This sounds like I'm teaching you how to explain the Tenrikyo teaching to others. That's not the case. I'm not a Tenrikyo scholar who studied this teaching extensively. My primary education on Tenrikyo is a 3-month Tenrikyo spiritual development course and headmaster qualification course. I was a full-time missionary for 1.5 years at the missionary house in Nagoya, Japan, and mission headquarters here. So my education on Tenrikyo is very limited and not so much different from many of you. So if you want to learn Tenrikyo, please refer to the doctrine of Tenrikyo for comprehensive explanation of this Tenrikyo. However, I became a Tenrikyo headmaster when I was 32 years old, and this year is my 39th year as headmaster. Although I have not been so successful, but I have experienced some successes and many failures during my long tenure. I'd like to share some of my experiences in conveying the Tenrikyo teaching, focusing on the differences between Tenrikyo and other religions. I just want to make sure that the following are my personal opinions and interpretation, and they are not reflecting the views of the mission headquarters. One day, one of my sons came to me and asked the question, "Daddy, how do you explain Tenrikyo?" I guess that he was asked by his friend about Tenrikyo. To this question, my answer was something like this. It depends on what kind of question the person asked, such as, is Tenrikyo Shinto or Buddhism, or does Tenrikyo believe in God? And how to explain Tenrikyo depends on what they want to know. That was my response. To tell you the truth, I did not feel like I gave him a satisfactory answer. As a matter of fact, I had similar problems in explaining Tenrikyo. I'm able to explain Tenrikyo in such a way as Tenrikyo is a religion that seeks joyous life, or it is a religion that was started by Miki Nakayama in 1838 in Japan. However, I could only explain the teachings in a mundane way. It did not properly express how unique and special these teachings were. So it usually ended up with a bland explanation. I could not convey the uniqueness of the Tenrikyo effectively. Today, I'd like to attempt how to convey this teaching in my way by stressing the differences from other teachings. As most of you know, Tenrikyo is to realize the joyous life on this earth. In this statement, I'd like to emphasize the part on this earth. Contrary to our general belief that religions are seeking happiness in our daily lives, most religions do not believe that the earth is the place to realize ultimate peace and happiness. Rather, this world is a transitional level, on the way to heaven or paradise. It seems that more importance is placed on the other world after death. However, Tenrikyo does not believe in the existence of heaven or hell. No heaven or hell. If you mention this, I think it is impactful. In addition, Oftosaki clearly states the purpose of life. That Oftosaki is, the reasons he began human beings was the desire to see you lead a joyous life. Part 14, verse 25. The purpose of life is to realize the joyous life in this world. To my knowledge, other religious scriptures do not clearly state the purpose of our life, as stated in the Oftosaki. Contrary to what Oyasama wrote, most religions consider that this world is a place of suffering. Buddha, who was the founder of Buddhism, began to search the truth after observing that life is filled with sufferings. These sufferings are living, aging, illness, and death. His life was the pursuit of the answer of freedom from suffering, and eventually he attained enlightenment. In Christianity, we are all sinners. We can only be saved through Jesus Christ, and we can go to heaven. So this world is not the place to realize the true happiness. And suicide bombings by the Muslim extremists are due to their belief, I believe, that they can go to heaven through their sacrifices. In Tenrikyo, this world is the place we can realize the joyous life, not in heaven. We are taught that when we die, our souls are kept in the bosom of God the Parent until we receive a new body in accordance with how we lived in the current and previous lives. For us, the other world is a temporary place, and this world is a real place. I think it's good to point out this difference. Another unique aspect of Tenrikyo is that we worship the place called Jiva. The Jiva is the place where God the Parent initiated human creation and the central point where our monthly service is performed by 10 performers, 5 females, 5 males. The Kandodai, a 13-layered hexagonal stand, is placed at this precise location to mark where the Jiva is. The 10 service performers reenact through their hand movements the 10 aspects of God's providence at the time of creation and of the world, and pray for universal salvation. This is also an opportune time to mention the process of human creation and the world. God designed how to create human beings and the world. God first created male and female prototypes and conceived the seed of human beings to the body of the female prototype. The initial number of seeds that were conceived was 900,099,999 of them. The same number of first stage of human beings were born from the mother. They repeated countless rebirths through the evolutionary process and eventually became the human being that we are today. It took years equal to the initial number of human seeds, that is, again, 900,099,999. On this number, Some scholars think it is a literal number, and others say it is a symbolic number. It is worth mentioning the truth of origin, as it is very different from the story of creation in the Old Testament. You may be surprised that I found there are many similarities between Tenrikyo and Christianity. Nobody would mistake Tenrikyo Church for Christian church when they come to attend our monthly service. In front are 3 shrines, in this case 4 shrines, and 9 Japanese musical instruments. Service performers wear black kimonos and sing and dance to Japanese songs. On the surface, it is so different. However, when they read our teachings without visiting a Tenrikyo church, there exist many similarities. We worship God Parent, and they worship God. We have the truth of origin, and they have their own creation story, the Genesis. And Christianity is a monotheist religion, believing in one God, and Tenrikyo is seemingly a monotheistic religion. Both call their place of worship a church. When I explain Tenrikyo, I often receive a question like, is a God is the same as that we Christian worship? Some think that Tenrikyo churches are of a Christian denomination because we use the word church. I often need to tell that Tenrikyo church is not Christian church. I think we confuse them by using Christian terms. God Parent is an excellent translation of Japanese term Oyagami-sama. However, I sometimes use the parent of origin instead of God the Parent in order to avoid the confusion with Christianity. Oya-sama made efforts by changing the name of God from Kami, the God, to Tsukihi, moon, sun, and eventually to Oya, the parent, in accordance with the level of our understanding. Oya-sama used farming words and construction terms that were more familiar with early followers. Oya-sama always mindful to use effective words and metaphors so that she could better connect people with the teaching. According to the data conducted by Religious Landscape Study in 2014, this is a little bit old, but 70% of people living in the United States were Christian. The Christian includes Catholic and various Protestant faiths. And 50 years ago, Christians made up 90% of the population. There has been an increase in the number of people without any religious affiliation. We need to be more aware of whom we are conveying our teaching to. And regrettably, but not surprisingly, Tenrikyo was not listed in this statistics. Now I'd like to talk about my church because it's related to today's topic. Please bear with me. Our church changed its name about 4 years ago. It used to be Tenrikyo Washington Church. Why was it Washington Church in Chicago? Because our church was established in Seattle, Washington in 1930. Our church was named after the state of Washington. After the World War II broke out in 1941, Reverend Funo, Mitsuzo Funo, head minister, and his family were taken into an internment camp. The church was closed. After the war ended, Reverend Funo was released from the camp on the condition that he work at the frozen food company in Seabrook, New Jersey. and he reopened the church in 1956. After he retired, Reverend Funo relocated the church to Chicago in 1976. He did not change the name, although the church is no longer located in the state of Washington. And Washington Church did not have a successor, so I was sent to Chicago as the successor of the church from its supervising church in Japan. I became head minister in 1985, right before 100th anniversary of Oyasama. When I became the head minister, I wanted to change the church name to the name that had some relevance to the location of the church. But I decided not to change the church name while my predecessors, Reverend Funo and his wife, Mrs. Funo, were alive, because they might feel offended or disappointed that the name that they are affiliated for more than 50 years. I thought that opportunity would come in several years, as they were 85 and 82 years old, respectively. And I was wrong. Reverend Funo passed away the following year, but Mrs. Funo lived to be 105 years old. Therefore, it took much longer to change the name of the church. But there was another reason that I wanted to change the name of the church. I was not comfortable to use the term church as an English translation for the word kyokai, Japanese term. I had been thinking that if I changed the name of church, I did not want to use church for the Japanese word kyokai. For me, church means a Christian worship place. Synagogue is for Judaism. Mosque is for Muslim. At my church, we discussed to find the best word to describe a Tenrikyo worship place. There are many candidates. For instance, the Tenrikyo Tenrikyo Salvation Center, House of Prayer, Mission House, and also one possibility was kyokai, the Japanese term. We are settled to use temple in place of church because temple is generally known as used for a place for religious worship. So at the mission headquarters, a church is known as Tenrikyo Chicago Church, but the official registered name is Tenrikyo Temple of Chicago. And I'm using this name to explain Tenrikyo to those who do not know Tenrikyo. It doesn't make a big difference, but the good thing to use temple is nobody confuse our temple with Christian church. The mission headquarters will celebrate the 90th anniversary of its establishment on June 30th this year. I hope many of you will come to attend to celebrate this event. In the early days when the mission headquarters were established, Tenrikyo sent many missionaries from Japan, but then their main focus was to spread the teaching to the Japanese immigrants and their families. 90 years later, thanks to our predecessor who devoted their lives to the path, we are now full of many ministers who are born in the North America and those who are fluent in English. Now we are ripe for spreading this wonderful teaching widely to the general public. And it is also a good time to contemplate how we can effectively convey this teaching. I firmly believe that Tenrikyo teaching appeal to many people in the US and Canada. With success in spreading this teaching, I believe Tenrikyo will be listed in the religious demographics in the United States and Canada. Let's make it happen. Thank you very much.